After the U.S. listed 9 Chinese state-run media as foreign missions, Taiwan deported 2 Chinese Southeast television journalists from the country. On July 6, the British government announced sanctions on China Global Television Network, CGTN, one of the CCP's branches overseas. This series of events show that the red media of the Chinese Communist Party is facing a siege from democratic nations. On July 6, the UK's Office of Communication announced that China Global Television Network violated British law by releasing a video on TV of a British citizen being forced to confess by the CCP. Legal sanctions like fines and revocation of license are being considered. This is the second sanction the Office of Communication has recently put on CGTN. Peter Humphrey, a British private investigator, was arrested in China while working for GlaxoSmithKline GSK in 2013. In 2014, he was sentenced by Shanghai court to 2.5 years in prison for illegally obtaining a citizen's personal information. The sentence was commuted later, and in 2015, he was expelled from China by the CCP. While in custody, he was forced to plead guilty, and CCTV and CGTN released the video in the UK. After Humphrey returned to the UK, he filed a complaint to the UK media regulator over privacy violations in published footage of his court hearing in the UK. After several years of investigation and trial, the case finally came to a conclusion. Just days before the UK announced its sanction against the CCP's mouthpiece media outlet, 2 journalists from China Southeast Television were deported from Taiwan on July 2nd by the Taiwanese government. The reason for the deportation is violation of entry requirements and engaging in activities unrelated to journalism. In recent years, the CCP has been sending Chinese journalists to Taiwan to produce political TV programs with the intention to spread propaganda. There has been criticism in Taiwan with people saying, when the world is actively blocking the invasion of red media, why does the Taiwan government still tolerate the internal production of red political programs in Taiwan?
Some people believed that this action was done too late by the Mainland Affairs Council, but I believe that Taiwan has to carefully evaluate each step in action since we face a direct threat from the CCP. Because the U.S. is now imposing sanctions on the CCP, Taiwan's handling of the matter actually unified with freedom, democracy, the U.S., and the entire world on the strategy of anti-infiltration and on the siege of the CCP.
In the past few months, the U.S. government listed 9 Chinese media outlets in the U.S. as foreign missions and tightened its censorship and control of these media. These Chinese state-run media are Xinhua News Agency, China Global Television Network, China Radio International, CCTV, China News Service, People's Daily, and Global Times. Zheng Haocheng, a commentator on current affairs residing in the U.S., expressed that it is a good start for the Taiwanese government to show such a tough measure on the CCP's infiltration. He believes that Taiwan should learn from the U.S. and gradually move towards reciprocity by cutting out all the CCP's mouthpieces for foreign propaganda.
China Southeast Television has a sister channel, Straight Satellite TV. Behind it is the red media CCTV, so it is not enough to expel only 2 journalists. It will take a lot of determination for Taiwan to root out the CCP's omnipresent propaganda that is sent via satellite signals, because it is not easy to get rid of programs sent by satellite, like blocking cable TV.
Lee believes that the U.S. is trying to prevent the CCP from infiltrating the world by listing Chinese state-run media journalists as intelligence agents.
The U.S. has always been the lead of free democratic countries. When it started measures like deportation to counter the Chinese red media's infiltration, we hope that more free democratic countries would join the UK and Taiwan to block the CCP's practice of using media coverage as a means of infiltration and propaganda.
After the national security law was passed on June 30th, the Hong Kong government immediately censored all books related to democracy from the Hong Kong Public Library. Commentators said that democracy, freedom, and human rights are like a scourge to the CCP.
All free democratic nations around the world are now able to see the true face of the CCP's infiltration after the U.S.-China trade war, the CCP virus pandemic, and the imposition of the national security law in Hong Kong.
China ranked fourth from the bottom in terms of freedom of the press in the world, ranking above Turkmenistan and North Korea. Cedric Alviani, the East Asia Bureau head at Reporters Without Borders, indicated that the Chinese Communist Party believes that the press is not for the people to monitor the government, but a propaganda tool for the government to use internally and against democratic countries. It is entirely correct for Taiwan to expel red media because they are the mouthpieces of the Chinese Communist regime and work for the CCP and are not entitled to press freedom.